All right. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. I am back for a another lunchtime Friday science discussion. This one is going to be interesting. I have two short articles I'm going to read, but these are going to involve things people are talking about now. They're going to involve a topic that is gonna hit a lot of people. They're uh, yeah, this is gonna be a sobering stream for some people who I think if you're in the science community and if you've been watching the news and keeping up on these types of things, this is not a surprise to you, but for some people this will be a surprise. Thank you to that individual who hit the like button before I started the stream. Uh, the folks who just came in, hopefully you stay. Folks don't always stay. Sometimes folks hop in and get bored and they hop out. But if you're just coming in, please hit that like button. The like the likes help with the engagement. The likes help with everything. If you're new, please subscribe. This channel, with the information that I cover here and with the guests I have, this channel needs more subs. But creating science content is not easy. It's not always the most sexy, and yeah, it's not always easy. SMP Life, thank you for being here. Wayne Wallace, thank you for being here. I'm not familiar with you, Wayne Wallace. So thank you for being here. I'm gonna share this over on my original channel. Let me make sure I can see myself on YouTube. I mean, you guys can see me, so that means I'm sorry. You guys can see me. I have to slow down sometimes. You guys can see me, so that means it's broadcasting with no hitches. All right, you guys liked it. I'll give it a like myself. I'm going to share this over on my original channel. I hope you guys are having a good week. I hope you guys had a good holiday. I have not in the last week been active over here. You know, it's the holiday season. It gets busy. Uh, Life happens. Things happen in your personal life, and I just hadn't had a chance to do something over here. But here I am. Here I am. Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay, so everyone, be patient. I'm going to play the intro for consistency. That's part of my branding. And I'll jump in on the other side. I don't intend to go long unless this is going to be very interesting stuff because again, it, people are talking about it now, and as I'll describe, this discussion is happening from numerous angles. It's now in the political space. It's in the economics space. It's been here on in YouTube. Some notable content creators like the nameless protagonist. He's talked about this. The master teachers talked about this. So this is people are looking at this now. Okay, I'll see you on the other side of the intro. Everyone who's here, I hope you hang around and give me your thoughts on this topic. So I'll see you on the other side. All right. Thank you to those of you who hung on during the intro. That music is so peaceful. That's called elf meditation. And there's a lot of free, copyright free music on YouTube. So if you're a content creator and you want to create introductions for yourself or whatever, you just have to make sure you give the attribution to that particular artist, and you can use that. All right, everyone. You're under no pressure to donate. If you want to make a donation during this stream or afterwards, my Cash App and PayPal are below in the description box. I don't have a super chat over here. I don't have AdSense over here, and it'll probably be a little while before I do. Um, I've yet to have something over here. I've yet to have something over here go viral or reach the 1,000 view mark, and I think that's because it's these are science topics, and you either have to have a large following or you have to present it in a certain way, and you have to be clever about drawing people in. I actually did a short on my TikTok. I'm on TikTok. I'm not doing anything crazy. I use it as a form of promotion. But yeah. So if you want to make a donation, that is there. Okay. So today I'm going to talk about globally, and I hope the YouTube algorithm doesn't snatch this down. And I hope they don't say you can't talk about that because that's goes against guidelines for any reason. But this was an article. These are two articles that were sent to me on my smartphone, and I thought these were worth sharing here because this deals with population. It deals with population collapse. It deals with why, potential reasons why, and it deals with ecology. Now, years before I attended the University of Michigan, I attended Johnson C. Smith University in Charlotte, North Carolina. Um, and I want to acknowledge the late Dr. Joseph Fail Jr. Dr. Fail was a bit of well, some would call him a tree hugger. Uh, and he was very, very passionate about students learning how to write, which he was correct about that. That's a critical skill, especially for scientists. But Dr. Phil also taught us ecology. And so, for those unfamiliar, just briefly, ecology is the study of how living organisms coexist and live together. Food chains, populations, how different species depend on one another. That's ecology. So we're talking about plants, animals, fungi, microbes, all of that. Aquateki, what's going on? Thank you for being here. Thank you for your continued support. These topics, I want to acknowledge the regulars I have over here, and some of you keep coming back, and this it's cool. This resonates with certain individuals. So thank you for being here, Aquateki. Okay, so ecology. So what's been this under discussion for a number of years is the human population. Uh, During my K through 12 and into college, I think there was a fear, and maybe even before that, that the Earth would become overpopulated with human beings. And then the question is, what would happen if the Earth became overpopulated with humans? Well, uh, maybe we would exhaust all of the resources, all the fossil fuels. The concern now is that we as humans, we're creating too many greenhouse gases, and it's us that's causing the fluctuations in the climate change. So, what happens if you have too many humans? Will we ultimately destroy the Earth? Last week, I was home for Thanksgiving. My dear sweet mother watches the mainstream media, watches MSNBC, and one of the things she said to me is, "We're destroying the Earth. We as humans, we're killing the Earth." So that's a concern for having too many humans on the planet. But let's go to the flip side. what happens if there are too few humans on the planet? And that's something that comes up during the holiday season. The baby boomers, they're the eldest generation that's for the most part left. I think we might still have some silent generation folks left, very few greatest generation folks left, but the boomers in many families, they're looking around and they're saying, there are no little kids, and in many churches, folks are looking around and saying, there are no young people in here. So why is that? What's happening in our country and in this world? Well, we know that in this country, Senator Chuck Schumer, the great Senator Chuck Schumer from the great New York State, made an announcement that the reason we need all the immigrants is because the population here in the United States is not reproducing. We are below replacement. And I think this is happening in most of the Western countries. So there's something about the Western countries. And I've also heard that, I haven't looked the data up, that the world population is growing, but the Western nations, the population is below replacement. And then the question is why? Well, I think that leads to some uncomfortable questions, and it leads to some uncomfortable answers. One of the articles I'm going to read actually gets to some of the whys. But people have been talking about this for a while. Dr. Jordan Peterson, if you're not familiar with him, look him up. He's talked about this. A gentleman named Nicholas Eberstadt, he's written about this, about a negative replacement, or not a negative, the negative replacement rate. And he had to, there's a really good discussion with him on the Hoover Institute channel. And even Nicholas Eberstadt, with his data, he kind of had to tiptoe around why the replacement level is negative in this country. Aaron Clary, I interviewed Aaron Clary over on my original channel a couple of weeks ago. We talked economics, but we talked about this in a roundabout way. Aaron Clary has given his theories on this. So a lot of people are looking at this. A lot of people are talking about this. And again, it leads to some uncomfortable questions, and it leads to some uncomfortable answers. Now, what we're also seeing, and I don't know if this is related, I was just watching a video by a gentleman named Glendon Cameron. He's a money guy. Aquateki says, I believe we just hit 8 billion worldwide population recently. Yeah. Well, Aquateki, that's interesting. If the Western countries, if the population is shrinking in the Western countries and the population is exploding around the globe, does that mean that the Western countries will at some point become overwhelmed? And will they be at some point overrun by the populations of the other countries? I don't know. I don't know what any of this means. We're living through history. The baby boomers, they saw the population explode, and now it seems to be shrinking back for whatever reason. Now, I don't know if this is related to this. I think it is. There's also talk about the growing number of young men, and I think subsequently women, who don't want to work. So there are a lot of young men who are not working, who don't have the desire to work, who have moved back in with mom and dad, who are playing video games all day, and they don't have the desire to go out and procreate. The argument could be made that some of that is economic. The argument could be made that some of that is cultural. And I think that's part of the argument that Aaron was making on my other channel, is that part of this is cultural and societal. But in any case, where, again, I don't want YouTube to take this down, but it kind of feels like we're headed towards some sort of cataclysm. What that is, I don't know. Okay, so I have 2 short articles to read. You guys let me know what you think in the chat. This is more this is better when it's interactive and when it's not just me talking at the screen. But let me know what you think as I go through this. And I'm going to stop because some important points are made in both of these short pieces. So I'm going to cue the first one up. If you're just coming in, please hit that like button. If you're new, please subscribe. If you want to make a donation, that information is there in the chat. Okay, this article is entitled Path to Extinction, Sperm Count Accelerates Its Decline. This was written by Kurt Cobb, and it was originally published by Resource Insights recently on November 27th, 2022. For the second time in 5 years, scientists are warning about declining human sperm counts. I wrote about this issue in Declining Sperm Counts, Nature's Answer to Overpopulation early last year. That's a separate article. Perhaps I'll take a look at that one and I'll come back and present that one. If you're just coming in, please hit that like button. If you're new, definitely please subscribe. This channel could use a lot more subscribers for the information that is shared over here. Besides confirming the results of an important 2017 study, the authors now note an acceleration in the decline of sperm counts. In other words, whatever is causing that decline is getting worse. The rate of decline has doubled since 2000. So that's interesting. That means that even if a young man or a man of whatever age, even if he wants to reproduce, he might not have the biological goods to do so. So it's important to remember that when the fertility rate declines below replacement, currently 2.1 births per woman in so-called developed countries, populations shrink. This may not be a bad thing at first, since overpopulation and overconsumption are huge barriers to building sustainable societies. But there comes a point when, if fertility rates don't level off and then rise to replacement, extinction becomes a possibility. That is apparently where we are heading as a global society. A phenomenon as complex as fertility cannot be explained by one or even a few factors. There is, for example, what is called the demographic transition, a theory which posits that the size of households declines as societies industrialize. That's fascinating. That's fascinating. That because you become more technologically advanced. Well, in a way, it makes sense. You become technologically more advanced. You don't, in this instance, you don't work on farms. You're not growing your own food. You live in a society. There are taxes. There are costs of living, and maybe that eventually that need to procreate, maybe that just goes by the wayside naturally once all of your other needs are taken care of. Okay. This could result from many factors, such as, okay, for those watching this, the article is saying this, I'm not saying this. The author said this, I'm not saying this. Let's see what the viewers think. This could result from many factors, such as the empowerment of women, in parentheses, to control their own fertility. Okay. Improvements in public health and nutrition that reduce mortality among infants and children, making parents less likely to have many children because some are likely to die. The rising cost of raising and educating children, and cultural factors that lead parents to want to have more time for themselves. Guys, I'm going to read those again. I'm going to read those hypotheses again. Let me know what you think there in the chat. Okay. This is apparently where we're heading as a global society. A phenomenon as complex as fertility cannot be explained by one or even a few factors. There is, for example, what is called the demographic transition, a theory which posits that the size of households declines as societies industrialize. This could result from many factors such as the empowerment of women, parentheses, to control their own fertility, improvements in public health and nutrition that reduce mortality among infants and children, making parents less likely to have many children because some are likely to die, the rising cost of raising and educating children, and cultural factors that lead parents to want to have more time for themselves. So that's interesting. So that means that means Akuteki, yeah, because people, people, everyone's getting offended over something today, and that would be seen as that someone see that as misogynistic, and you don't want women to be empowered. But I'm on that note, I'm thinking back to one of now everybody doesn't like him, Dr. Thomas Sowell from the Hoover Institute. One of his sayings is, in life you have trade-offs. For everything there's a trade-off. You get this, but then you're not going to get this. Like, okay, so yeah, the disclaimer. All right, so that's interesting. That means that one of those points means that in the olden days, parents, I guess some parents had a lot of children because there was the concern that some would not make it. So that was part of the rationale for having so many, and probably less. I mean, the birth control is probably less. Um, there wasn't as much birth control. We weren't as scientifically advanced. So that's interesting. S&P Life says, I think it's more economical and family law that causes the effect of the decline on population. Nicholas Eberstadt, in his talks, he highlighted the last point. Uh, Cultural factors that lead parents to want to have more time for themselves. So he notes in his discussion on the Hoover Institute channel that for all of the benefits and all the fun that children are, they are quote unquote, um, oh, I just lost the word, inconvenient. They are inconvenient, especially early on. Early on, when you first have a baby, you have to stay up all night with it. And then you have to, if you're doing it right, if you're doing parenthood right, you have to put the child first, its needs, its wants, its health, its costs, if you're doing it right. Okay. And I'll leave that there. Mike Rizzi says, could be all the above, including microplastics and KFC, but microcultural issues seem to be the only point of the article. Well, let's move on. If you're coming in, please hit that like button. Okay. But some scientists have been pointing to other factors associated with industrialization, namely the widespread dispersion of toxic chemicals in the environment that can adversely affect fertility. The increasing use of pharmaceuticals, the ubiquitous presence of plastics in the environment, Mike Rizzi just mentioned this, and human bodies. That's interesting. Ubiquitous presence of plastics in the environment and human bodies. Smoking, poor diet, and obesity, which itself may be a product of endocrine disruption caused by environmental toxins. The shocking conclusion of the 2017 study was that if the rate of decline in sperm counts observed then continued, those counts would reach zero by 2045. This latest study concludes that we as a society may be moving even more quickly toward that destination. Given the monumental increases in world population since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, it is hard to imagine a collapse in human population that might be almost as swift. And yet, that is what population biology and this latest sperm count study suggests. If the suspects listed above are major reasons for the decline, it's hard to see how the moneyed interests behind them would allow much to be done. Okay. So that's the first one. Again, that was a short piece. I'm not going to read for hours for you guys. I think that bores some people. This link is below in the description box if you want to see the link and keep a copy for yourself. One of the cool things about YouTubing is that it creates a bit of a reference list for me. I'm not good at saving links in data on my own, so these videos give me a reason to save the information and to read the information. Okay, so I'm going to link to a link that was in this one, and I'm going to admit that I haven't read the actual study. So he's talking about the study. I haven't read it myself, and I don't think there's a link in this next piece. But let me go over this next piece. Aquateki says, facts: children require lots of maintenance. Yeah. All right, guys, give me a second. I have my hard connection here, but I'm seeing my antenna thing, my signal show up there. That tells me I don't have a good, okay, now it's going back to where it was. In the meantime, okay, there we go. If you're just coming in, please hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. And if you want to throw something in the tip jar, that information is here. A lot of people are talking about this. Again, you know, this comes up in families in the holiday season. Many of the boomers look around and things aren't quite the same that they were when they were younger, and they wonder why. They wonder why. Okay, this piece is from the Bangkok Post, and it's entitled "Sperm Count is Declining at Accelerating Rate Worldwide: Study." Okay, that picture there, I'm thinking this is a some sort of sperm assay, a sperm. This is probably a way to count sperm. So they probably shoot it onto some sort of plate. They take a sample, shoot it onto a plate, freeze them, and maybe count them. But I'm not a reproductive biologist, so I don't know for sure. But that's what we did for SF9 insect cells in my experiments. All right. Mike Rizzi says, once you start talking microplastics, most people just give up. Mike, what does that mean? Does that mean that people tune out, or does that mean that, what does that mean? Okay, this is a relatively short piece, and it reads as follows. Paris, France. I think the prime minister was here yesterday with having lunch with President Biden. Aquateki says, my grandparents used to ask me where my kids were 20 years ago. Yeah, the generations are different. Each generation has a different set of challenges than the one prior. for their generation, your grandparents, Aquateki, if you are, I'm assuming based upon the jazz avatar, I'm assuming you're a Gen Xer, so your grandparents would have been from the silent generation or the greatest generation. They grew up in a different world with different social norms and different expectations. It was less technologically advanced. I think Black people were more church going as a group at that time. So there were just structures in place that I think ensured reproduction. Things and those things have been in large part, I don't want to say obliterated today, but there aren't as many of those elements today as there were yesterday. And overall, my original channel, I'm going to get to this article, guys. I read a passage from Robert Greene's Laws of Human Nature, and in his chapter regarding purpose, Robert Greene did state that many of the institutions and social codes and norms of yesteryear are now gone. So those things are gone. So the mentality now is completely different for a lot of key things. Mike Rizzi says you can't do anything about microplastics, so the conversation gets glossed over. Aquateki says they probably tune out because they're not familiar or not interested with the concept at Mike Rizzi. If you're just coming in, please hit that like button. The likes are free and they help with the engagement. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. If you want to donate something, my Cash App and PayPal are there. All right. Paris, France. Sperm count among men worldwide is failing at an accelerated rate after having over the last 40 years, a large new study said Tuesday, calling for action to stop the decline. The study, led by Israeli epidemiologist Haggai Levine, updates 2017 research, which had come under scrutiny for only including North America, Europe, Australia, and New Zealand. The new study includes data from more than 57,000 men, collected over 223 studies across 53 countries, making it the largest meta-analysis ever conducted on the subject. So for those of you unfamiliar with meta-analyses, so that gentleman was an epidemiologist. Well, he is an epidemiologist. So a meta-analysis basically takes large sums of data, does an analysis of some sort with an algorithm, boom, and spits out an answer. So that's a meta-analysis. So you can see the trend of what things are doing. Are things going down? Are they staying level? Are they going up? That's what a meta-analysis is. Whenever you see an epidemiologist or epidemiology, think meta-analyses. Okay. With the additional new countries, it confirmed the 2017 finding that sperm counts have halved over the last 4 decades. Between 1973 to 2018, the concentration of sperm in men not known to be infertile fell more than 51% from 101.2 million to 49 million sperm per millimeter of semen, the new study found. Furthermore, data suggests that this worldwide decline is continuing in the 21st century at an accelerated pace, said the study published in the journal Human Reproduction Update. Sperm counts are dropping at a rate of around 1.1% a year, the research found. More action and research is urgently needed to prevent further disruption of male reproductive health, it added. So is it something I don't know what they're going to find, but is it something biological or is it something cultural? I mean, Are boys being reared and socialized the same way, such that something is happening to their bodies so that their bodies are not doing what they used to do? That's a that might lead to some uncomfortable answers as well, because we know that today there's an effort to make genders the same, and I'm going to be very discreet about that. But when you do that, when you evolve to a more gender fluid environment, does that have an effect on the biology? Okay, I'm formulating my thoughts here. Yeah. So is there something cultural and behavioral that's causing this? That's just a question. I don't know. Or is it something in the food or in the environment? Sperm count is not the only factor that affects fertility. The speed of sperm movement, which was not measured in the study, also plays a crucial role. The lower sperm concentration of 49 million is still well above the range considered normal by the World Health Organization, between 15 million and 200 million sperm per milliliter. Sarah Martins da Silva, an expert in reproductive medicine at Scotland's University of Dundee, not involved in the study, said it showed that the rate of decline in sperm count has doubled since 2000, and we genuinely don't know why. Exposure to pollution, plastics, smoking, drugs, and prescribed medication, as well as lifestyle such as obesity and poor diet, have all been suggested to be contributory factors, although the effects are poorly understood and ill defined. Other experts said the new study did not resolve their skepticism about the 2017 research. Okay. I remain concerned about the quality of the data in the papers that were published, particularly in the far past, on which the analysis is based. Alan Pacey of the UK's University of Sheffield told AFP. While hailing the very elegant meta analysis, Pacey said he believed we have simply gotten better at the difficult task of counting sperm, which could account for the falling rates. But Martins da Silva dismissed critics of the study's results, saying that the numbers and consistent findings are difficult to ignore. So that's an example of peer review. So for every finding, you're going to have scientists who say, no, that's not true, or that's happening because of this, or that's happening because of that. I wouldn't necessarily trust that data. Happens all the time. Aquateki, thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, so shout out to the nameless protagonist and the master teacher who have presented the mouse utopia experiments. Okay. These authors probably know about it, but I think with information, if certain information gets out there and it gains too much traction, you might cause a hysteria, and the people who control the information might not want to cause a hysteria, because if I and that's those are data sets and those are studies that I need to study more closely myself, or maybe I just need to go watch Nameless's videos on it. But I think this all may be caused by things that we're doing, and this may be the natural order of things. Once you make the environment so comfortable, maybe this is ultimately what happens, some sort of population collapse. Okay, it is 40 minutes in. 40 minutes in. Does anyone want to come and react, give any thoughts on any of this? If not, I'll just shut down. These are two articles that I saw that I thought were interesting. People are talking about this today. Uh, Population collapse, negative birth rates being below replacement. And I think that the fact that Senator Chuck Schumer from the great state of New York, I thought it was powerful that he came out and made his announcement 2 weeks ago. But he came out and made that announcement to say, hey, this is why we need immigrants to come to this country. Uh, but he didn't say anything about what the homegrown population could or should do to get that reproduction back up. Okay. And Nicholas Eberstadt, I keep mentioning him, Nicholas Eberstadt, who's done work on men not working as well, the growing number of men not entering the workforce. He was also hesitant to say what the homegrown population in the United States could do to get the birth rate back up. So it's a very, very sensitive topic. It's a very, very touchy topic. And I think that people don't, yeah, it's a very, very sensitive topic today because it starts to put accountability and it starts to put accountability and culpability on certain groups. Aquateki says, I'm surprised. Okay, I already read this one. He says people will need to know what's going on, preferably sooner than later. Yeah, you don't want to get, in another, you don't want to get to another 20 to 30 years and this information all of a sudden pops up. I mean, by that point, then what? Then what? But yeah, there are a number of factors contributing to this. One thing on the immigration, if you go to my original channel and you look at my last interview with Dr. Anthony Davies and James Harrigan, they outlined and they gave a lot of benefits of immigration. Immigrants come here and they work hard and they bring value, and I think that's clear. So for a vibrant economy, for a country to continue to grow and thrive, to have a workforce, to have taxes, well, it's a big Ponzi scheme. You need people on the bottom working. You need workers. You need bodies. But then the question is, what about the homegrown population? Are you just going to bring in so many immigrants that are going to eventually change the complete complexion of the country? I mean, are you going to ask the homegrown population to change what it's been doing and to evolve and to um, consider reproduction important again? I don't think anyone wants to talk about that. That's a hard conversation to have. T. Riddler says, thank you for these talks, Dr. Dunbar. Do you think the recent injection movement has contributed to this? Okay. Injection movement. Being mindful of the YouTube algorithm and being mindful of community guidelines. T. Riddler, what do you mean by injection movement? Are you talking about the global event and the immunizations? Or are you talking about something else? Aquateki, thank you for the support. As per usual, whenever I do these, you always throw something in the collection plate. I appreciate that. Let's see. S&P Life says, do you have any ideas or solutions behind these articles? Well, I'm going to go back to the first article. Let's pull the first article up. I'm going to read this again. This could result from many factors such as Akweseki, you're going to laugh again, but this is the author writing this, not me. Okay. Well, T Riddler, I just want to know what you were referring to. As you know, this channel was removed, and YouTube was gracious enough to put it back up because they don't want us talking about certain things. So if you were referring to the um, the immunizations for the pandemic, then just say the immunizations for the pandemic. Do I think that has anything to do with the decreasing the negative birth rate? And the answer is I don't know. But going back to SNP's question, this could result from many factors such as the empowerment of women to control their own fertility, improvements in public health and nutrition that reduce mortality among young infants, the rising cost of raising and educating children, and cultural factors that lead parents to want to have more time for themselves. Okay. So if there's a low sperm count, if um, if there's something biological happening, then there needs to be research on what that is and why it's happening. Okay. There's probably, if you look at society in terms of technology, in terms of quality of life, in terms of expectations for life, in terms of how the genders relate, in terms of social norms and social mores, everything has drastically changed since the time when the boomers were young. If you look at the current the nu- the number of genders we have now, okay, um, things have drastically changed from what they used to be. And if you go back to, I referenced Robert Greene's passage from The Laws of Human Nature. There used to be social institutions, there used to be belief systems, there used to be things in place that ensured men and women procreating. And a lot of those things have been broken up, and a lot of things have gone by the wayside. So you would have to convince people to go back and mimic the behaviors from yesteryear, which I don't know that you can do at this point. I don't know that you can do that. J Bones, thank you for stopping through. Thank you for stopping through. I'm just wrapping up this stream. Are there any more comments? I will I'll drop the link. Guys, if you come up, keep it about the topic, keep it about the science. I'll hang out for another 10 minutes if someone wants to come in and say something. But SMP Life, this article is below in the description box in case you want to read it for yourself. The link is here. I think that last point about uh, cultural factors that lead parents to want to have more time for themselves, that goes back to what Nicholas Eberstadt said about children being inconvenient for all the fun that they are, for all of the fulfillment that you get from having them. Uh, he did state in the video they are considered quote unquote inconvenient. So I think, and he also said that we've gone over to more of a European way of thinking in terms of a European way of thinking in terms of convenience. and practicality. Do I need to do this? Do I want to do this? What's going to be the cost of doing this? I mean, certainly that there's a cost associated with having a child. Someone's going to pay for it, whether it's you or the government or the rest or the taxpayers. But his point was that society has shifted more towards that way of thinking. And then I'll throw this in over on my original channel. I'm hosting Round Wills next week. I'm scheduled to host Round Wills at a summit that I was at with Ram. When he gave his talk, Ram said something very, very interesting. He said that we're in the age of I. We're in the age of I. What do I want? What do I uh, want to do? What do I need to do? What's my deepest desire? So we're in the age of I. And I think in yesteryear, we were more in the age of we. We were more in the age of community. We were more in the age of what's what's best for my family and what's best for the community. Now it's about I. So I think that's significant as well. So that goes to the last point here about cultural factors, changed cultural factors, changed paradigms, changed ways of looking at the world. Um, yeah, Aquateki says, here's a thought: would the decrease in sperm count spur an increase in to more artificial reproduction methods? That's a good question. Those are on the way too. Those are on the way too, and I think well, that will cure a lot of ills for a lot of people as well. If you think about the article that came out a couple of weeks ago about the lack of availability of black male sperm, I'll just stop that there. I think artificial wombs and reproduction, I think that would have an impact on this as well. Let's see. But also, I'm going to wrap this up soon. If sperm, yeah, I think that needs to be looked at. If sperm production itself amongst men has biologically decreased, that needs to be the reason needs to be determined. Why? Because that's biological. And then I think one important question is there something environmental? Is there something in the food? Or are boys being socialized and reared in such a way that in terms of their endocrinology, is that being altered in today's society? Aquateki says, since sperm is becoming a scarcity, would people seek to make more efficient use of it through technology? Yeah, I think that's something that if they're not already looking at, then they probably will. Because how can you not? And then that'll create another economy right there. That'll create another sector of the economy, and another thing to invest in, and another thing to create. S&P Life says the government could give better incentives for people to create families. Nicholas Eberstadt talked about that as well, and he said, if I recall correctly, he said that usually creates a bump, but it doesn't create a sustainable um, increase over time. But even to create that bump, our elected officials would have to get together and think about that and determine if it was worth doing. They probably already have, and they've probably said immigration is the way. We got to immigrate. We got to let more immigrants in. I think that's the significance of Chuck Schumer's speech 2 weeks ago. S&P Life says the artificial womb could be a good replacement if the numbers don't change or continue to decline. Yeah, so in theory, that could make things simpler. I mean, that would probably also result in fewer men and women being together, staying together over the long term. But that would circumvent the need to find a partner you could live with and coexist with, because you could just go create a baby yourself and then just go and do whatever you want. So I think that artificial womb technology, yeah, I think that would help ameliorate a lot of this. Yeah. But that part right there, finding a partner you can live with over the long term, that's been discussed ad nauseum on other channels. But this channel is a science channel. So so you may hear some aspects of that, but for the most part, this is a science channel. So, but I think, yeah, I think artificial womb technology, if it comes and when it comes, I think that'll be a game changer. Aquateki says, on the flip side, you'd have to readjust the concepts of family lineage. Well, aren't we already doing that right now? Yeah, because Aquateki, if you, let's say you go to a reproduction clinic, if you're a man and you don't know where that egg came from, or if you don't have a personal relationship with the generator of that egg, yeah, that whole part of the child's bloodline is going to be, it's going to be unknown. So that child will just know your bloodline and your family history, unless they work it out so that the child knows, so that, unless they work it out so that there are records of where that egg came from. Same thing is true with the sperm. But today, a lot of people, the people who are doing the in vitro fertilizations, the women who are freezing their eggs, I think they just want the child, and they're not really worried about knowing the family tree and the lineage and where they come from and those kinds of things. Yeah. It's a different world, guys. We're in a different world. Yeah, we're in a much different world um than our parents were. This is almost like being in the Twilight Zone, uh or the X Files or something like that. Um but I was thinking as I was reading one of the articles earlier, this was actually an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. The Enterprise came they came upon a planet, Captain Picard and Commander Riker and Data and those guys, and the population on the planet, they lost. They were trying to steal children from other places. They tried to steal some children from the Enterprise, and they couldn't reproduce because of the technologies they created. I think they had a planetary shield, and it was interfering with their ability to the population's ability to biologically reproduce. So this was written about in Star Trek before. If you watch Star Trek. All right, everyone. No one came up. That's okay. It's lunchtime. Uh, I'm going to wrap this up. I have some more things to do today. So thank you to everyone who hung out. Thank you to those of you who hit the like button. And if you're new, please subscribe. This channel is kind of weird because for every few subs I get, I think YouTube, for some reason, does unsubscribe some of the channels. They take subs away. I don't know why, but sometimes YouTube does that. So this channel, you would think that the subs would well, it also depends on how the algorithm is treating the channel too. But for some reason, I don't know, when you see your when you see people unsubscribe or you lose subscribers, you wonder if people are just getting frustrated and they say, I'm unsubscribing from this channel, or is that the algorithm and the people running YouTube, are they doing that? I don't know. But if you're new, please subscribe. All right, everyone, I'm going to wrap this up. Let me close some of these windows. Thank you for those of you who hung on. Aquateki, thank you again for the generous donation. If you're watching this and you want to donate something to the channel, that information is below in the description box. Please consider signing up for my newsletter. This is below in the description box. I haven't sent one out over the last 2 months. I've been very, very busy, a lot going on. Life happens. Life comes at you fast. So some things consequently, unfortunately, fall by the wayside. But this is my newsletter. I'm a writer working on a book. And I just published another promotional essay for the book. I'll share it on my community tab here. I have a lot of things to catch up on. The link to my newsletter is below in the description box, but the link is also here as well. Oh, Judah's Lion just subscribed. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. So my newsletter's here, guys. You just click this. There's a 2-paragraph greeting. Just click this button. That takes you to that form. Just drop your email address in. Boom. I won't give your information away to another party, but I will be publishing my book at some point, and I'm trying to build an audience for that. And I'm trying to collaborate with people on multiple things. So, yeah, for the next stream, as soon as I can get him over here, there's a gentleman I saw over on Erica Williams' channel named Dr. Patrick Dix. He's an automation guy. That's another thing. That's another thing that's changing, the technology. So this discussion about men not working, young men losing their desire to work, automation is a part of what's coming. So Dr. Dix, he's a tech guy, he's an automation guy. So I hope to have him over here soon so we can have a Q&A about not artificial intelligence, automation, and what's going to further happen to our society. All right, everyone, I'm going to stop this. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to donate, that information is below in the description box. The link for my newsletter is in the description box. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. And guys, I'm starting to add on another saying at the end, which is always do your best. You might fall short. People might not appreciate what you've done or what you tried to do, but always try to do your best. So take care, and I'll talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.